finding empowerment, embracing layers, yeah. We get to
Hello, Melissa Crook here in the Field Podcast. Welcome back to another one-on-one empowerment time with me today. I hope you're doing well. We are rounding out. Gosh, we're at the end of February already. I don't know how we got here. Here we are, almost 2 months into 2026. Time flies when you're having fun. I hope your winter is treating you well, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, your summer is treating you well. But today, we're going to kind of pick up where I left off last week. Don't worry if you haven't listened to last week's yet. You can go back and revisit it. You don't need that information for this episode, but I am going to pick up where I left off last week in really talking about the positioning of the feel framework and why I feel like it's so important for women to apply this to their lives, what I've learned from applying it to my own life. So I want to give you a little more background on that today. And again, if what you hear today sounds supportive and helpful to you and get you started, great. And if you need more support, go to our show notes and our resources page, embracinglayers.com. Let's set up a time to talk, have a 30-minute free empowerment session, and let's get you some resources that are going to support you in this. But let's get into this really, my hope behind the feel framework, this positioning of the feel framework, and what I have learned and what my hope for is for it. And this North Star core positioning that I've been able to come up with the help of some great resources, my friend Drea Ginto that I mentioned last week, this is what my hope for. And it was sometimes hard to put into words. I'm very, very verbal, as you guys have probably noticed from being with me on podcasts and listening to me. So really making it concise, but also having it be something that I look at, I'm like, that's why I do this. And this is what this has done. This is what coming up with this North Star core positioning has done. It's helped me better make better decisions on how to get connected with you all and make sure I'm giving you resources that are supportive of meeting the needs that I intended when I started this. When I started this, it was with this podcast here, just trying to get conversations going. But as I did the work, I knew I wanted more than that. I wanted to give you tangible ways to really apply this to your life. And so it really opened the door to these other resources that have come out of this that we offer now. And this really helped me get there. This really helped give me the language I needed to write the online course, to start doing public speaking in small and larger groups and workshops, to decide to provide one-on-one empowerment sessions and resources that way, the writing of our book, all those things were like, these are additional invitations besides what we offer here on the podcast and on our Together We Feel panels. And this really helped inform that. And I hope it helps you think about too, is there a North Star core positioning phrasing that I need in my own life to help me kind of round out what it is I'm trying to do? And also, I'm hoping that this will be a framework you apply to your life to make sure you're taking care of yourself in the way that's honoring to you and helpful to you and supportive of you. So really for me, I'm going to start off reading this North Star core positioning that I left off with last week. And it's that the feel framework is a radical reimagining of self-leadership for women who are tired of performing, perfecting, and pleasing. Instead of chasing external measures of success, it guides you to live from your fullest expression, grounded in your values, fueled by self-trust, and embodied through everyday choices. It's not just about wellness, but it's about agency, identity, and cultural power, which all impact our holistic wellness. And so, some things that really come to mind for me that I want to support you in is we've been taught to define ourselves by what we do. And the feel framework really flips that script. It's about who you are and how you feel while you're doing it. You'll notice when I have guests on here, I don't introduce guests with their bios. I introduce guests by their character traits, by who they are. And I want you to start thinking about that too as you introduce yourself. Or a way to invite people into that conversation is ask them how they describe themselves by their character traits. And you'll notice many times people will start with giving you all their roles and titles, and you'll be like, no, 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 no. That's great. I'm glad that, but who are you? How would you describe yourself? What are the adjectives that you would use, action words you would use? And you might even have to share your own. Like on the one pager that I offer in our show notes, that's in all of our show notes, I give examples of my own because this can really trip people up because we're so conditioned to introduce ourselves by all of the things that we are doing and performing. Let's get back to that foundation of who you are. And it's also remembering that this allows us to really be grounded in that. It allows us to make sure that our values and how we describe ourselves and how we're filling our cups is showing up in our calendars and is showing up in the work that we do and the places and spaces we show up in the world and how we show up in them. And this is not success in terms of all the things that we're accomplishing on our checklist on a daily basis. This is success that is a reflection of no more self-betrayal. We are we are going to have impact and we're not going to be burned out while we're doing it. We're not going to show up in a room apologizing for being there. We're going to show up with a quiet confidence of, I know I belong here. I know I have something to say that can be helpful and supportive. Also an excellent listener and I'm ready to learn. But we're not apologizing or shrinking down or playing small because we know our value and we're grounded in our inherent foundation of who we are. And then again, goes into 3 messaging pillars. I really like 3 because it's not too many to remember, but it's enough to give you some substance. It's that identity over productivity. You're more than your to-do list. Feel reconnects you to your layered, multifaceted self. Liberation through boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They're bridges to deeper relationships, sustainable success. They're about your decisions, your ways that you show up in the world. They're not about other people's. It's a way to inform how you're going to show up in the world and what it is that may be happening in that space that will maybe send you out of that room. And so you're talking in I statements, and it's very and if boundaries is a triggering word for you, come up with another word, framework. I use the word framework a lot. I refer to this as a field framework. So maybe it's framework. Maybe it's guardrails. But come up with a word. It doesn't have to be boundaries if that's triggering for you, but find that word that allows you to really be defining and filling your calendar with things that are in alignment with who you are. Embodied wholeness, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, sexual health. They aren't separate. And especially in Western medicine practices, they're very much treated as separate entities. And we'll get sent to 3 or 4 different practitioners to deal with these things, when in fact, ideally, all of these different people should be talking to each other and be connected with each other to inform each other of what's going on with you. And there ideally there's one practitioner that's asking you, your PCP is asking you a multitude of questions. When something comes up in your health, they're asking you, are you feeling stressed? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Are you taking time to feel your body? Are you taking time to move your body? Are you building in any quiet time for yourself? Have you suffered any losses lately? They're asking you really wider, broader questions to help connect you to how your emotional, mental might be impacting your physical, or your lack of physical movement might be impacting your mental and emotional. How you feel about yourself might be impacting how you're showing up sexually. I mean, there's all these different ways and spaces. Your spiritual spaces. Are you practice these things to help you keep grounded in these other areas of your health. And so it's that embodied wholeness in making sure we are asking ourselves these questions and have people in our lives that are helping inform and support that. And so, some phrases you'll hear me say a lot: living out feel. This is shorthand for applying this framework: living out, finding empowerment, embracing layers, asking these 8 key questions and 3 talking points that I talk about all the time: the self-care, the healthy boundaries, the connection between mental, emotional, physical health, the showing up unapologetically for yourself and other women. Are you applying your why, your values? Are you living those out? Have you asked yourself what those are? Have you identified those? Living out of your own expectations versus others. Are you living out of your own or someone else's or the culture's expectations? Are you embracing your layers? Are you really clear with yourself that you know your value, that you know your worth? Are you curious rather than judgmental about different parts of your layers and story that might be more difficult or challenging or things you wish you hadn't done? And then in living out feel and asking yourself these questions and applying it to your life, how is this impacting your relationship with yourself as well as your relationship with other people? How you're showing up in those relationships, what kind of relationships you're surrounding yourself with. It really gets you plugged into that. So that's what living out feel means. And then from doing to being, we are not human doings. We are human beings. And then identity over activity. Who am I? Not what am I doing that describes me. Now, those things lend to us. They add value to our lives when they're in alignment, our titles and our roles. But let's make sure that's not where our values grounded out of, because if it's our values based out of that, roles and titles change over time. These things are fleeting, sometimes expectedly and sometimes unexpectedly. So it's so important to be grounded in who you are and what describes you and what fills you up, and staying current on that, because that's going to change with different seasons. Power without apology. You know you have a voice. You know that you get to take up space. You don't have to apologize for being there. You don't have to live like you're an inconvenience or that your needs are an inconvenience. You're not showing up and there's a difference here. Sometimes this unapologetic and power without apology can be triggering for people. I'm not talking about aggressiveness. I'm talking about assertiveness. We're showing up with a quiet confidence. We're showing up with, I know I belong here. I have something to offer. I'm excited to contribute. I'm excited to share that with you. And I'm also excited to listen to you and talk about how we can work together and learn more. That's the difference between, we're not apologizing. We're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Can I have a moment? We're like, hey, I'd have something I'd like to share. I think could be really helpful and supportive. And I'm excited to hear what you think about it and what you have to offer as well. You see the difference in the tone of voice and the way you present ourselves. So that's really what I mean when it's that power without apology. And then the feel test. This is the ultimate. Does it align with how I want to feel the next 6 months? Or is this going to make me feel burdened? Is this going to make me feel overdrawn? Is this going to make me feel too divided? Is this or does it just not align? Is there just not room for it right now? But there might be room for it later. Or is there something else that needs to be moved to make room for this? Because this is actually in more alignment. So it's that feel test. It is aligned with how I want to feel. And then that hopefully really helps you to do. And what my hope is in applying this framework, I want to help women reclaim who they are: self-leadership, healthy boundaries, unapologetic living. I want to offer you a transformative process with this feel framework that I have written out of my own experience. These are things that I learned organically through my own work that help me live in a healthy, present, authentic way. And I have to check in with myself all the time on these. This does not make your life perfect or uninhibited or unbothered. It simply gives you a framework to allow you to continue to be and aligned with where you are and who you are today. And it's a transformative process to help you not overperform, to help you live from your values, not someone else's values, but your values, to inform where your healthy boundaries need to be moved, adjusted, changed, or communicated. The communication piece is really key here. And your true identity. Again, I know I keep saying this, but it's so important to remember that true identity of who we are. This work empowers you as to shift from, again, doing to being. You're not a human doing, you're a human being. And this will allow you to feel more free, more powerful, and more unapologetic in every part of life. And when we're not overworked, we're not like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so tired, but I'm here. No, we're present, we're focused, we're refreshed because we haven't overdone ourselves. And then this really, I believe this, I know this, I've seen it in my own life and other women that I've talked with that are applying it to theirs. The FEEL framework helps you lead from who you are, not what you do. So you don't feel like an imposter because you know who you are. You know what you value and what those values are. You know what you're grounded in and those character traits that you were given that allow you to thrive here. You're not comparing your list of accomplishments to other people's. You are embodied and empowered in who you are. And you know you get to create success on your terms and help others to do the same. No one else is defining that for you. You're defining that for you. And so this is why I get so excited about this. And I think I wanted to really give more insights to this as I do these one-on-one conversations with you, to just give you a little bit more of a view of why I'm so passionate about this and the power that it has to help us live the way we were designed to live. But that's not the narrative that we've gotten, but we can get back to it. We can live this way. It is possible. So I hope this was a great reminder for you today. I hope this gave you what you needed this week. I hope it's something you'll share with the women in your life. And if you need additional support, I've got many resources, whether it's an online course, speaking to you personally or virtually in groups. I really encourage the online course and the book to do in groups to support each other in it. But I do one-on-one as well. Sometimes we need that one-on-one accountability, really get comfortable in our own skin before we're ready to talk about and share with others. So multiple ways I can support you in this. And also a ton of resources on our website that with other women that I've shared on the podcast, because I bring those guests on because they provide resources that support within the framework that I'm providing you. They give you those additional things that you might need to apply to your self-care, your healthy boundaries, your mental, emotional, physical health, showing up unapologetically. And so it's all part of this resource engine that allows you to live out FEEL. So tons of stuff there to support you. Thanks so much for being with me today. Remember, you are valuable, you are worthy, and you get to choose. Take good care, and we'll see you next time here on the FEEL podcast.